So my name is Jeff Shaw. You've never met me before. I'm the Vice President of the University Advancement. Been here for right about a year and a half. And I just want to take y'all through some of the things that we've seen over the last few years, the last year and a half, and what we've done and how we're moving forward, and then talk about what we're looking to do for the 150. So let me start with University Advancement. The position that I have here at University Advancement is an inaugural position. When I came to the university, or prior to me coming to the university, there were departments like marketing communication, alumni relations, development, Prairie and foundation, all operating as individual units, all doing kind of like their own thing. But at other universities, University Advancement is kind of like the one area where all of them report to one structure so that we're all moving in the same direction to advance the university. Because that's what all of those departments should be doing at the end of the day, is how do we advance the university? So Dr. Green decided, you know what, I need a vice president for University Advancement to pull these departments together so that we're all moving in one direction. So with the exception of marketing communications, alumni relations, development, advancing services, the Prairie and foundation, all of us are united now as one division, all moving in the direction to support the university. So that makes our mission a little bit clearer. All right. Affiliation agreements. So last year in April, Prairie and the foundation and the university signed an affiliation agreement making Prairie and the foundation the official 501c3 charitable giving arm of the university. So now all of our charitable gifts route through the foundation. Now, why is that important? Well, now it centralizes our donations. So now when people give, it's all going to one place. So now when we do things like, you know, how many of our alum are giving back? How many people are giving back to the university? You know, let's do a recognition of, you know, a donor roll of all of our donors. We can actually calculate this stuff now because prior to this, stuff was coming in from, you know, the university had gifts coming in, the foundation had gifts coming in, different organizations had gifts coming in, and then they would send it to the university, but we wouldn't know the names of the people that gave on those gifts. So we really weren't calculating our numbers correctly. So, you know, a lot of times what they'll say is, what is the alumni giving rate at a particular school? They want to know what's the percentage of your alum giving back. Well, if you can't calculate that, it looks like you have a low number. I can tell you, Prairie probably has a much higher number than what we've noticed in the past because all the money wasn't flowing in one direction. But now we're flowing it all in one direction now, so it makes things a lot easier. And we've been able to optimize how we process gifts because now since we have a centralized location for all the gifts, we have a way of processing those. So we're actually getting more gifts now than we were getting before. But since we've optimized it, we're able to process those gifts a lot more quickly and get acknowledgement letters out, and thank yous and all those things, receipts out in a timely fashion, even though we're processing more. Okay, we've heard about this, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on this McKinsey Scott here briefly. The president touched on it as well. So we're all thankful for this McKinsey Scott. Very happy. Deserving of a round of applause. But the other thing about this McKinsey Scott here is I wanted to illustrate from what I talked about before. I said the charitable giving arm of the university now is Prairie and foundation. So when this gift came in, guess who accepted that gift? The foundation accepted the gift, right? So that means the gift didn't go directly to the system or to the state, it came to the foundation. And the reason that that's important is because when it came to the foundation, it allowed for Madam President say, okay, let me sit down with my team and let's decide how we want to use this money. It didn't get invested into a system that already has its own investment policies and how they're going to use money. It went to the president to say, how do I want to use it? How much do I want to invest? How much do I want to put in current use? How much do I want to put in my current programs? How much of this do I want to align to our current strategic plan? It gives her the ability to make those types of decisions because the foundation is an entity of us and not of the system. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we get to control our destiny in the sense of how this money is used because we have that charitable 501c3 arm to accept gifts on our behalf. Okay. A little close, all right. Stewardship. I want to talk a little bit about stewardship because over the last year and a half, we put a lot of effort into our stewardship. Because what we realized is it's not that Prairie wasn't receiving gifts, and it's not that we weren't asking gifts, right? But if you don't do a good job of stewarding your gifts by being basically saying thank you, how do we use the money? Are we using the money in the way that we said we were going to use the money? Are we managing the money well? If you're not telling that side of the story, then what happens is you get a bunch of donors and the next year they don't give back. Because they don't know what happened. You know how many times when you said, hey, I gave somebody a gift and I didn't even give the thank you, right? Yeah. We put a lot of effort into making sure that we're doing some of these things because what we don't want to do is get a bunch of donors and the next year we have to replace all those donors with new donors because they're not getting back. The more we're able to retain donors and then the next year add more to it, we'll start to see those numbers increase over the years because we're not losing all of our donors because we're not doing a great job of stewardship. So some of the things that we've done is we've upgraded our donor experience. So one of the things that you see on there says stewardship matrix. Stewardship matrix basically says in our office, we have this chart, this outline that says when a gift comes in, here are the things that you do for that person. Whether it's send them a new receipt, send them an acknowledgement letter, send them a thank you, send them a card, prepare a video, make sure that you get a copy of the annual report. At different levels and at different things that people do, there's a matrix that says, here's how we're going to handle that gift so that everybody's on the appropriate acknowledgement and appropriate touch points. Right? What we've also done is we've created some donor events. So we've had top donor events, we've had donor recognition events. We've had those types of things to bring donors on campus to be able to say thank you, but also treat them to certain things because they're our donors and they're our alumni. But what we've also done is we've done a better job of piggybacking on a lot of events that happen on campus. There's a lot of things the campus already does. We have football games, we have ceremonies, we have Founders Day. We have all these things that are already happening. These could be great opportunities for stewardship. So why not say, hey, because this football game, you're one of our donors, you're one of our esteemed alum. Why don't you come out to a game and sit in the suite with us? We're having a Founders Day event. Why don't we call a few of our donors and say, hey, this would be a great time for you to come to the campus and experience our Founders Day. So we piggyback on events that are already on campus so that you don't always have to create another event every time we want to thank someone. So we've done a better job of doing that. We personalized some of our stewardship. So we've actually implemented this thing where we start sending out handwritten thank you cards, right? So we have certain donors and people that we meet with at certain events where when we come to the event, we'll send out these personalized thank you to come to the event. We really appreciate it. And that really touches people because how many times do you go to the mail and you realize everything in your mailbox, stuff that you don't want, right? You got deals, you got advertising, you got all these things, and you end up sifting through to realize that 90% of it is going in the trash. Because going to the mailbox is not what it used to be. You used to go to the mailbox and get a letter from somebody. Well, maybe you got a check. Now everything's ACH, so you don't see as many checks in the mail anymore. But when you go to your mailbox now, you actually see a card that's handwritten by somebody on the front, has a real stamp on it that didn't go through a machine. When you open it up, somebody wrote inside them. That stands out amongst everything else in your mailbox. And we're doing that. We're sending those handwritten letters so that people can say, wow, my school sent me something actually nice and personalized at the same time. So we're doing some of those things. And we're doing things like following up with stewardship calls and things like that. Thank you people for things that they've done. Endowment reporting. So some of us have endowments. Raise your hand if you have an endowment. All right. So people who have an endowment in the university, one of the things I found when I first got to the university, people would say, I have an endowment, but I've never gotten a report that says what's going on with the money or how many students are being recognized. Now, I'm not going to say that the university wasn't doing it, but I feel like it wasn't consistent. Sometimes people would have to call and ask, hey, I need my report. I want to be able to show my family or whoever what's going on. So what we've done is we've standardized it so that every year we're making sure that there's a report going out. Okay, I'm trying to go. There we go. All right. So there's a report that we send out every year that shows you how your endowment is performing, the interest earnings that is received, the distribution that's come off of the endowment, if there have been any students associated with the endowment, the list of students' names that have received scholarships. And as of This year, when we send out the endowment reports, and over the last year, we've been collecting thank you letters from the students. So when we send out the endowment reports this year, it'll have all of that stuff plus letters from the students saying thank you for the endowment. What we did was we realized that in the past, the students would receive the scholarships and then we call the students and say, hey, can you write a letter? Sometimes it was hard chasing those students back, right? But what we did was we said, hey, in the post acceptance of your scholarship, once you get a letter saying, hey, you received this scholarship, here are the things we need you to do to accept the scholarship. And one of them was write a letter, a thank you letter to your donor. So now in the post acceptance, they write a thank you letter. So now, hey, for the gather all those letters at the end of the year, and everybody who has an endowment, here's your student statements, but here's also the thank you that they said. So you'll see that this year when we send out the endowment report. But that's important because people want to know that information. Impact report. So with our impact reports, what we've done is there are different companies and corporations that give money to us. And when they give money to us, they're giving it either for a specific purpose, like a program or for scholarships or things like that. And it's important for them to know, hey, I just gave you guys $500,000. What happened with that? Right? Well, some corporations are very specific about, I need an impact report. You know, I need you to fill out this form. I need you to go online and put all this information into the portal. I need to tell exactly how much you used and how many students were benefited. They're very specific about what they want in that. But then there's some that just say, here's the money. They don't ask for it. But guess what? They would love an impact report. They want one just as much as everybody else. They may not ask for it, but what happens next year when they start looking at their budget and saying, how are we going to allocate our funds this year to different organizations and who we're going to get charitable gift to? Well, we gave Prairie some money last year, but nobody ever got back to us on where that money was. Can anybody tell us? You know, they'll ask their employees. Can anybody tell them what Prairie did with this money? No. Okay. Well, let's give it to somebody else this year. That's what typically happens. So what we've done is we put something in place that says, regardless of whether they ask, we're going to prepare an impact report for every corporation that makes a substantial donation to us. And what we realize is a lot of the people in these corporations that are advocating for us to do these donations are our alums. And our alums work for these companies and they go to their higher ups and they say, you need to support Prairie. If we're not able to give them an impact report, then we leave them on the hook saying, hey, I pushed y'all to give to my university, but I don't have anything to back it up. So we're giving them materials to back those things up. So now they get a very detailed impact report that tells them where the money went, there's any students involved, students that it went to, how the money was allocated, if it was to go to different areas, the majors of the students, how much the students received, a summary from all of the funds that they received, that we received, and also a letter from deans that impacted their areas. The deans write a letter that says, this is how it impacted us over the years. A very, very detailed report. Now, can you see how this would be helpful? And we've been getting a lot of positive responses from our corporations now where they're saying, thank you for the impact report. Let me go ahead and give you some money now for this year because I don't know what's going to happen next year. We're going to give you the money now. Right? So we're seeing that type of reaction for this. So it's going over really well. Now, we concentrated on a lot of this stuff over the past year. Now, I'm going to show you what kind of impact has this had on our current fundraising. So let's take a look at this. You know, our president said she's a data person, so she likes numbers. So whenever I bring her numbers, she's happy as long as they look at it. Right? She's happy. So to show you what this is telling you, this is our chart on new donors as of April 30th of this year. This is our chart on new donors. Those two bars at the top, the purple and gold, represent where we are in new donors. The purple bar is where we were last year in new donors, and the gold bar is where we are this year in new donors. That's essentially, yes, that's where the flaw. Now, how it breaks down is those last three bars, and the one that I want you to pay attention to is that last bar says new donors from alums. That's yours. We're excelling in new donors from alumni as well. Okay, so we're showing improvement over the past year. This next slide is actual overall donors in the general, not just new donors, but how are we doing in just new donors? Well, again, as of April 30th, that purple bar is where we were last year in donors and where we are this year in donors. Shows you about 500 more donors this year than we had last year. So we have increased that. And if you look at alumni again, we're outpacing where we were last year in alumni donors. And the reason I want to say that is because we've made some improvements and we've asked you all to give. You probably received emails, letters, and things in the mail. We've asked you to give, and this is showing that y'all showed up. You know, you did what we asked you to do, and that's commendable. Good. Go to this next one. Now, this is a very important slide. Now, walk you through this. These bars going across the bottom is showing you where we finished in our fundraising in these years, which is showing in the blue the 22 to 23 to 24 to 25, and then that purple one is this current year 26, right? Now, in 22, 23, 24, and 25, those totals is the amount that we ended the fiscal year. In 26, it's where we are as the 830, right? We're not even done with this year, right? So it shows you that we've had a dramatic increase this year. Now, a big part of that, what, $70 million that you see up there, you know what a big part of that is, right? Yeah. Kansas Scott is $63 million of that. But even more importantly, those numbers, that purple bar, those numbers, that's the number of donors that we've had when we finished those fiscal years. That's the number of donors. So if you look at 23, 24, and 25, compared to where we are in 26, we've already surpassed where we finished in those years of number of donors. And we're not too far away from where we finished in 22. So by the time we finish May, June, July, and August, we should have exceeded where we ended in 22. So we're ahead of where we've been over the last 4 years. That's good news. That's great. Okay. All right. So this is showing some of the wonderful things that we're doing. And then this next slide, which is the number slide, what I want to show you is the main thing is that purple bar at the top. If you look in that top right-hand corner, what I did is I took out the $63 million to show that we're still $600,000 ahead of where we were last year, even if you take out the $63 million. Gotcha. So now, after going through all of this and telling you all the improvements that we've seen. All right. Yep. This is where my job comes in, okay? This is what we're looking for. Now, I mentioned this earlier this year when I spoke to the alumni chapters on a call. During our 150th anniversary, we want to raise more in our next year than we've raised over the past year. We want to do a better job. We really want to take advantage of this monumental year and say, hey, how can we take advantage of this moment in time and build our brand and raise more funds in this moment? So everybody's going to have a part in helping us do that. And what I'm asking for is not just from the alumni, but this is broken into separate pieces. So we're going to be asking for more in major gifts. We're going to be asking for more from corporations and foundations. We're going to do a better job of reaching out to them. We're going to do a better job of putting in grants because we're going to increase those things. We're going to have some hosted events. The president talked about us kicking things off in Martha's Vineyard. Well, while we're in Martha's Vineyard, we actually have a host that's going to have a private event for us. It's going to be a social event to introduce us to some high-level donors that we'll be able to talk to. But then throughout the course of the year, we're going to travel to other homes and other people's houses to have additional fundraisers throughout the year. So we're planning on increasing some of our fundraising through some of these hosted private events. We're also looking at, I've had a conversation with all of our deans. All of our deans have a goal this year. They're going to have to dig into their alumni from their schools and colleges and figure out how can I get an additional $150,000 out of my alumni this year. Typically, we've had a homecoming challenge every year that says $10,000 every year from every school and college. Well, now this year they have a $150,000 challenge. But we're going to be working with them to help them get there. So I've been meeting with the deans to do that. The scholarship gala, how many people went to the gala this year? All right. Did y'all like, was it a nice day? Did y'all enjoy it? I enjoyed it, but I also had a goal on my back. I had $1 million goal to reach for the gala, and we did that. We did an exceptional job of doing that. So everybody who came to the gala supported, give yourselves a round of applause. So when you're a fundraiser and you do a good job, guess what your reward is? You do a bigger job. So we have a $1.5 million goal for our gala next year. That's going to help us increase what we do in presidential scholarships and help move things along and take advantage of the fact that it's our 150th anniversary. We're going to do 1.5 million in our gala next year. And then we're going to be starting some annual fund initiatives. We have some things that we're working on. That's like calling it a 150 for 150 challenge. We're going to be asking people who would like to go into a recurring gift status of $150 a month for a full year, commit to at least a year. How many people can we get to commit to that $150 a month for a year or more? So we're going to have a whole giving society and things branded around that and some other community things, but we're working with the D9 so that the different fraternities and sororities are all working on a $150,000 gift for the year. So what am I asking for the chapters? I want the chapter to work on what is their fundraising going to be for the 150th anniversary. I'd like for y'all to think about how can we raise $150,000 from the chapter to help with the 150th anniversary. That's my challenge to y'all. I'm not going to pass the plate today. All right. But I do want you all to think about how can we go about raising those dollars.
And we look at over the next school year.
Over the next year. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a timeline, right? So these are the things I'm gonna ask you to do. You can create events, you can reach out to your alums, you can have meetings, participate, things that you can do amongst your chapters, just kind of galvanize yourself and figure out what is it that we're gonna do to raise this money. Now I'll give you a little bit of an incentive, right? Endowment gifts. Now, we talked about people having endowments, right? One of the things that you could do is, now you may already have an endowment. If there are any new endowments that are created, we have matching gift dollars, right? So if you do a $50,000 endowment, we'll make it $100,000. $102,000 endowment is down to $100,000 endowment. We have those funds to create these matching gifts. So if part of your fundraising is, hey, why don't we start an endowment? Or if there are individual members in the chapter who's already been thinking about doing endowment, this is a great time to do it because we can double the money and we can count it towards your chapter's fundraising. Okay, you can get to that 150,000 a lot quicker if you're doubling your dollars. Make sense? Okay. Then there's also events. You can do events. You can pull yourself together and say, hey, we're going to have an event where we want to raise money because we want to be able to come back and we want to be able to have $150,000 raised. Then there's individual giving. Individuals can make gifts. Current youth scholarships, we still need those, but like the president said, those endowments break that sustainability. Now, our plan is this. Next year around this time, May, June time frame, we want to have an event where we bring all the chapters, some of the community people back together and say, here's what we raised for the 150th, right? So you have about a year from now to say, what is it that we're going to do so that next year we can come back and all the chapters and organizations that went out and did fundraising, they can come up and say, Madam President, we did this much for you. Make sense?
If you do about homecoming, you can be on the field.
Yeah, you can call homecoming. Yes. That is your question.
This time next year.
This time next year.
What do you recommend?
So the university fiscal year runs from September 1 to July, August 31st. Yes. Now keep in mind, what we raised for the 150, it's not necessarily going to fall. It doesn't just fall within the fiscal year because we're going to be doing a lot of asking for the 150 throughout now and to the end of the fiscal year of next year. And all the things that are related to the 150th is what we're going to capture in how much we did for the 150, right? And some of that may blur the lines between fiscal years, but we're still going to be able to say, here's what the 150 initiative was able to raise. Okay. That might be my last slide. Yes, that is my last slide. So the question.
What qualifies as an endowment?
Okay. So an endowment starts at the $25,000 level, right? So to create an endowment, it has to start at least at 25. 25 would turn into a 50 with the Listen, I see your hand. Look,
Great. If you have an endowment already, will those funds be matched? If you have additional funds to put in?
the short answer is no, right? However, if you already have an endowment, right? And you decide, well, hey, I have another $25,000 that I want to put into that endowment. You can do that because it's your endowment.
Right.
But what would be more beneficial to you is to start another one, because now we can match your money.
Okay.
So, I'm Kiana Charbois, and I'm just inquiring about a scholarship. If my family wanted to create a scholarship
Mhm.
for students, giving them a certain, amount of money each semester, how would we go about initiating that?
Okay, very good. So scholarship, so when you say scholarship, I'm assuming you mean current use. You don't want to invest it, you just want to bring it in and give it out.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, so that's the current use scholarship. So my office handles that.
Okay,
So I have a person in my office, her name is Megan Reed. She deals with individual giving and those types of scholarships. I can give you her information before I leave, but that would be the way you would start, is with our office to start working on, because we would draft an agreement for you. It would say how much you want to do. We'll put the agreement together, we'll get it signed, you'll be ready to go. And you can count that towards your chapters giving towards $150,000.
very nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes,
So
sir.
just for my clarification, so since we have a Houston scholarship,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Houston endowment.
Yes, ma'am.
So for our chapter to raise the $150,000, it would be wise to open up an endowment or just make the donation of the $150,000.
So if you make a donation of $150,000, right, and you put it into your current endowment, you would increase your current endowment by $150,000,
Okay.
which is wonderful. But if you took that 150 and started a new endowment, that would automatically be a $300,000 endowment to match. So it would be more beneficial to start a new one, but it's your endowment. If you want to put it in the old one, you can do that, but to take advantage of the match, it would be wise to start a new.
The public who's doing the match.
So Mitra, you
Is there what's that?
The public who's doing the match.
Is it public? I can tell you who's doing that. So actually, we have some, is it pub funds or?
So the reason that we cannot use the matching funds for existing endowments is because when you draw down funds, you have to declare why you will use them and how you will use them. So we have actually convinced the system that they need to give us another $3 million from PUF interest money or endowment matching, right? Or to establish new endowments. So that's public. Yes, we are utilizing our A&M systems status to get access to funds to match endowments.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to everybody in here because I ain't been paying attention for a long time. When I was in school, we was like really fighting to get money that they owed us.
Uh-huh.
And they managed that out.
That's a whole nother.
That's all. If
No,
you
so-
the president spoke on some things, and I'm gonna turn it back over to her for that question, but there are some things that she talked about where we've tried to balance the playing field in certain areas. Now, whether we've gotten to the finish line yet, it's probably not. But, Madam President, would you like to speak on?
So I think there's two different things. There's the state and then there's the system, right? I think there has been some interest among some alums that because we are identified in the Constitution as an institution of the first class, that we should receive our own allocation of the PUF compared to A&M and UT. That's where the PUF is divided. And because we are a part of the A&M system, not all schools in the A&M system get PUF, right? So if you're asking about that, which has been one of the interest levels of how do we advocate for Prairie to get its own allocation for the PUF? No, that has not been reconciled. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that's not a fight that I'm taking up right now, right? There are other ways for us to move to get to more equitable standing, even in what we receive, right? So that is where I am. The second part, has the institution received what the state owed? It depends, right? The institution did a class action OCR lawsuit, I guess it started in the late 90s. 90s. Money came through. So all of those funds have been spent. there are interests in making sure that as a land grant institution, the state has given us an equitable match. My first year, 2023, was the first time Prairie received dollar for dollar match from the state for our land grant institution. So, but historic deficit, no. That has not been reconciled. And to be honest, when I look at our strategic plan, where we're going and the money that we need, I need more money in the future than we would get from the past. I need them to fund the future. So that's my response to that.
Question for Mr. Shaw.
Yes, sir.
Is there a formal program where you request donations from along via, say, donor advised funds, qualified charitable contributions, or life change?
So,
It's something I like.
I love this question. So, I told you kind of like how we were over the last year, we put some energy into stewardship and some of those things. But this year, we're focused on our major gifts, our grants, our corporations, and our, what we call our planned and charitable gift plan gifts, right? So actually, one of my fundraisers is working on a planned giving summit for this summer. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna invite people to come to this summit, so that if you don't know about charitable remainder trust or planned giving or planned gifts or estate giving, all those types of gifts, donor advised funds, we're gonna have a summit on that. So my target audience is this. What I'm starting to find out, that if I'm talking to people, they'll say, oh, Mr. Shaw, I already have Prairie View on my way. Okay, well, we haven't done that, but that's wonderful. But there's a lot of people who have already done that, right? We'd like for those people to let us know, because there are certain things that we do as giving societies, recognition and things that we do for people who put us in their will. So we want those people to come out and let us know that so we can document it. The other thing that we want to do is there are some people who've kind of been on the fence about, I've been wanting to do this estate planning will thing, but I don't know how to get started. Well, this is the time to come to this event, because we're going to give you the keys, the tool to get you started. And then there are some people who just, I don't know anything about this whole charitable estate planning thing. We want those people to come. So we're planning that for this summer. So when we do that this summer, we're going to be able to do like almost like a little knowledge base of all of those things, so that people who are interested in that can do it, because that's going to set us up for when we go into the 150, because we'd like to capitalize on a lot of those attributes. Yes, sir.
All right, Gary, so are you gonna set that up for them to come to Prairie View, or are you gonna be set up for people who can come to Prairie View and do it on like virtual, yeah?
We're doing two. One will be a come to campus one, and one will be a virtual. Because not everybody is going to live locally. So we want to be able to have a format for them. But then there are some people who are local or who can make it, that we'd love to be able to bring them in and kind of like have luncheon and just make it a really nice event for them. So we're going to do two. Yes, sir.
I'd like to recommend that you also add to what you're doing. Many of our people lose their properties and lose their wealth because they don't understand transfer deed upon death. They don't understand payment on death, and also naming in the put your name on the checking account.
Yes.
Of your parents or heirs, and says you the beneficiary.
Yes, sir.
We lose a lot of wealth that way. Therefore, I would recommend that y'all add that helps the individuals and the families, so that they will have more that they can give back to. So I just wanted to add that.
No, I appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you. Now, I think, I know I'm over my time. Just maybe one more question, and then I'll hand it off. Are we good? All right, that's my time. Thank you all so much.